No woman will ever be good enough for my son.
In the days when wisdom walked on two legs and the elders' words carried the weight of mountains, there lived a woman whose stubbornness was known in 7 villages. Long ago, in a village nestled between the great river and the ancient forest, there lived a woman named Mama Ashaki. Her name meant beautiful one, but the villagers had another name for her behind closed doors: the Unmovable Rock. Mama Ashaki had raised her son, Kofi, with the fierceness of a lioness protecting her cub. She was wealthy, owning many goats and chickens, and her yam fields stretched further than anyone else's in the village. When Kofi's father had passed to join the ancestors, Mama Ashaki had declared, "I am both mother and father now. No woman will ever be good enough for my Kofi." And truly, she meant every word. When Kofi came of age, many young women from the village and beyond sought his hand. He was strong, kind, and would inherit his mother's wealth. But Mama Ashaki found fault with each one. "That one, her hips are too narrow, she will give you weak children," she would say. Or, "This one's family are known gossips, she will bring shame to our compound." Or simply, "She cannot cook. I tasted her jollof rice at the harvest festival. It was an insult to the ancestors." The years passed, and Kofi remained unmarried, growing sadder with each rejection. The village elders began to whisper, "Even the python must loosen its coils, or it will strangle itself." Then one day, Kofi traveled to the market in the neighboring village, and there he saw her, Amara, daughter of a modest farmer. She was not the most beautiful woman in the market, but when she laughed, it sounded like the river singing over stones. When she spoke, even the birds seemed to pause and listen. Kofi knew immediately. This was the woman he would marry. He returned home with the light of love in his eyes, and Mama Ashaki saw it immediately. "No," she said before he could even speak. "Whoever has caught your eye, the answer is no." But Kofi, for the first time in his life, stood firm. "Mother, I am bringing her to meet you tomorrow. Her name is Amara, and she will be my wife." Mama Ashaki's eyes flashed like lightning before thunder. "We shall see about that." The next day, Amara arrived at the compound with a basket of kola nuts and a white cloth for Mama Ashaki, as custom demanded. She wore a simple wrapper and head wrap, and she walked with quiet dignity. Mama Ashaki sat under the great baobab tree in the compound, surrounded by her friends, the other elder women of the village who she had summoned to witness this girl's inadequacy. "So you are the one who thinks she will marry my son," Mama Ashaki said, not rising, not offering the traditional greeting. Amara set down her basket and bowed respectfully. "Good morning, Mama. I am Amara. I bring greetings from my family and these small gifts to honor you." "HMPH," Mama Ashaki grunted. "Kola nuts from a poor farm and a thin cloth. Is this what you think my son is worth?" One of the other women gasped at the rudeness, but Amara simply smiled. "A gift's value is not in its price, Mama, but in the respect with which it is given. I bring you what my family can afford with clean hands and an honest heart." Mama Ashaki's eyes narrowed. This girl had answered well, but she was just beginning. "Can you cook?" Mama Ashaki demanded. "I can cook, Mama. Tomorrow, you will prepare the evening meal for this entire compound. If it is not perfect, you will leave and never return." The elder women exchanged looks. This was beyond the traditional testing. This was meant to humiliate. But Amara simply nodded. "As you wish, Mama." The next day, Amara arrived at dawn and worked in the compound kitchen from sunrise to sunset. She prepared jollof rice with chicken, egusi soup with stockfish, fried plantains, and chin-chin for dessert. The aromas that filled the compound made even Mama Ashaki's mouth water, though she refused to show it. When the food was served, Mama Ashaki took one bite of the jollof rice, chewed slowly, and then said, "It is too salty." The other women tasted it and looked at each other in confusion. The rice was perfect, every grain separated, the spices balanced like a dancer on one foot. "Mama Ashaki," one brave elder said gently, "the rice is well prepared." "You know nothing," Mama Ashaki snapped. "It is too salty, the girl cannot cook." Amara stood quietly, watching. Then she smiled and said, "Perhaps, Mama, the salt you taste is not in the rice but in your heart. When we look for bitterness, everything becomes bitter." The compound went silent. No one had ever spoken to Mama Ashaki this way. Mama Ashaki rose from her seat like a thundercloud gathering. "How dare you? You insult me in my own compound. Get out. You will never marry my son." But Amara did not move. "Mama, I have shown you respect. I have brought gifts. I have cooked for you. I have answered your questions with honesty. But respect must walk on two legs, not one. If you cannot receive respect, you cannot give it either." Kofi stepped forward, but Amara raised her hand gently. This was her battle. Mama Ashaki trembled with rage. "I am the mother. I decide who is worthy of my son." "You are the mother," Amara agreed. "But Kofi is a man, not a child. You cannot hold him in your belly forever. The bird must eventually leave the nest, or both the bird and the mother will suffer." "My husband listened to me," Mama Ashaki shouted. "He obeyed me in all things." "And is he here now, Mama?" Amara asked quietly. The question hung in the air like smoke. Everyone knew that Kofi's father had died young, his spirit worn down by years of being ruled rather than partnered. One of the elder women, Mama Falami, stood up. She was the oldest woman in the village, older even than Mama Ashaki, and her words carried the weight of the ancestors. "Ashaki," she said, her voice like dry leaves rustling. "Do you remember when you were young and wanted to marry Kofi's father?" Mama Ashaki turned to her, surprised. "What does that have to do with anything?" "Do you remember," Mama Falami continued, "how your own mother-in-law treated you? How she said you were too headstrong, too proud, too independent. How she tried to break your spirit." Mama Ashaki's face changed. "You swore then," Mama Falami said, "that you would never treat your own son's wife the way you were treated. But look at you now. You have become what you hated." Mama Ashaki sat down heavily, as if her legs could no longer hold her. Amara approached her slowly and knelt before her. "Mama, I do not want to take your son from you. I want to build a family with him, a family that includes you with honor and love. But I cannot do that if you see me as your enemy instead of your daughter." Mama Ashaki looked at this young woman kneeling before her, and for the first time, she really saw her. She saw the strength that did not need to shout, the respect that did not bend into fear, the love that was willing to fight for what was right. "You remind me of myself," Mama Ashaki said quietly, "when I was young and still had fire." "The fire is not gone, Mama," Amara said gently. "You have simply been burning the wrong things." The tension in the compound shifted like wind changing direction. Mama Ashaki was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Stand up, child. Do not kneel before me. We are both women of fire. Fire does not bow to fire, it recognizes itself." Amara stood, and for the first time, Mama Ashaki truly smiled at her. "You have passed my test," Mama Ashaki said. "Not the test of cooking or carrying or any of those useless things. You have passed the test of standing firm when the storm comes. That is what my son needs. That is what this family needs." But Amara shook her head. "No, Mama, I did not pass your test. You passed mine." Mama Ashaki's eyebrows rose. "Oh." "Yes, Mama, I needed to know if you could bend without breaking, if you could hear truth without shattering, if you could love Kofi enough to let him grow into the man he needs to be." Amara smiled. "And you can. That is why I will marry your son." For a moment, Mama Ashaki looked as if she might be angry again. Then, slowly, she began to laugh. It started as a chuckle and grew into a great, rolling laugh that shook her whole body. "Oh, Kofi," she called to her son, "you have found your match indeed. She is as stubborn as I am." "Yes, Mama," Kofi said, grinning widely. "That is exactly what I was hoping for." The wedding preparations began that very week. Mama Ashaki threw herself into the planning with the same fierce energy she had used to fight against it. She invited everyone in 7 villages. She slaughtered her finest goats. She wove new cloth with her own hands for Amara's wedding wrapper. The other women of the village watched in amazement. "What changed her?" they whispered. Mama Falami, watching from under her own baobab tree, smiled her ancient smile. Nothing changed her. The girl simply showed her a mirror. On the wedding day, as Amara was dressed in her beautiful wrapper and gold jewelry, Mama Ashaki came to her. "I have something for you," she said, and she placed a beaded necklace around Amara's neck. "This was my mother-in-law's. She gave it to me on my wedding day, though we fought like bush cats before that. She told me that the woman who marries her son must be strong enough to stand in the storm. I did not understand then. I understand now." Amara touched the beads gently. "I will honor it, Mama." "I know you will," Mama Ashaki said. "And Amara." "Yes, Mama. Thank you for not letting me win." Amara laughed. "Oh, Mama, you did win. You won a daughter who will fight for this family as fiercely as you do. Is that not what you truly wanted?" Mama Ashaki pulled her into an embrace. "You are wiser than your years, child." "I had a good teacher," Amara replied, even if she did not know she was teaching. The marriage was blessed by the elders, celebrated by the village, and approved by the ancestors. Kofi and Amara built their home in the compound, close to Mama Ashaki, but with their own fire and their own life. And Mama Ashaki, she became the most loving mother-in-law in 7 villages, though she never lost her fire or her strong opinions. But now, when she offered advice, Amara would listen and then say, "Thank you, Mama. I will consider your wisdom." And sometimes she would follow it, and sometimes she would not, and Mama Ashaki learned to respect both. Years later, when Amara's own daughter was ready to marry, she came to her mother and grandmother for advice. "How do I know if he is the right one?" she asked. Mama Ashaki and Amara looked at each other and smiled. "Bring him to meet us," Mama Ashaki said. "We will test him." "Mama," Amara laughed, "have you learned nothing?" "Oh, I have learned everything," Mama Ashaki said, her eyes twinkling. "I have learned that the right person will stand firm in the storm, will speak truth with respect, and will love you enough to fight for you, just like your mother did for your father and for me." She stood and placed her hand on her granddaughter's head. "And I have learned that stubbornness is not always bad. Sometimes it takes a stubborn woman to teach a stubborn woman that even the unmovable rock can learn to dance." And so it was that the stubborn mother-in-law met her match, and in meeting her match, found her equal, her daughter, and her greatest teacher. The ancestors smiled, for they knew this truth. The strongest walls are not those that never bend, but those that learn when to open their gates. As the elders say, the tree that refuses to bend with the wind will break, but the tree that bends returns even stronger.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment for more.